The notion of the destroying angel, or angel of death, is an intriguing topic within biblical studies. These terms have been used across various translations of the Bible to describe angelic figures associated with divine judgment and punishment. However, the absence of clear biblical evidence pointing to a single specific angel designated as the destroying angel highlights the complexity of this subject. In exploring this concept, we can refer to several passages that depict such angelic roles. One of the most notable references is found in the book of Exodus. During the 10th plague in Egypt, common belief is that God sends an angel to strike down the firstborn of the Egyptians, but it was God himself was the precursor of the destroyer. In Exodus 12:23, "For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you." The text states, "For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the two doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not allow the destroyer to enter your houses to strike you down." In this context, the destroyer functions as an agent of divine wrath, executing judgment upon those who oppose God's will. Another passage is found in 2 Samuel 24:15 through 16. 15. "So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed, and there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord repented him of the evil, and said to the angel that destroyed the people, It is enough, stay now thine hand. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing place of Araunah the Jebusite, Kerswing, where an angel carries out punishment against Israel due to King David's census. The scripture notes, So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning until the appointed time, and 70,000 men of the people died. And when the angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented from the calamity, and said to the angel who was working destruction among the people, It is enough, now stay your hand. Here the angel serves as an instrument of God's retribution, but the act is stopped by divine command. The book of Revelation also provides insight into this theme. Revelation 9:11. "And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon." Mentions an angel named Abaddon in Hebrew, or Apollyon in Greek, who is referred to as the angel of the bottomless pit. This figure leads a horde of destructive forces during the end times, illustrating the role of angelic beings in executing God's final judgments upon sinners. Across these passages, we see that angels often act as intermediaries of God's judgment. They are tasked with carrying out divine decisions that involve punishing wrongdoing or implementing consequences for disobedience. Nevertheless, there is no consistent biblical portrayal of a singular destroying angel or angel of death. Instead, multiple angelic beings may fulfill such roles as determined by God's purposes. The varying interpretations and translations of these passages reflect a diversity of perspectives within biblical literature. Different translations might use terms like destroyer or angel of death to describe these entities, underscoring the challenge of capturing the full scope of their roles and functions within the narrative. In summary, the concept of the destroying angel in the Bible is multifaceted and not attributed to one specific angel. It represents the broader theme of divine agents tasked with executing God's judgment upon those who defy his commands. By examining different passages, we gain insight into how these heavenly beings operate within the divine order, serving as executors of justice in a complex and often enigmatic framework. The biblical account of the first Passover, as described in the book of Exodus, is a profound narrative detailing the deliverance of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Central to this account is the visitation of the destroyer, sent to execute judgment by killing the firstborn of Egypt. This event marks a pivotal moment in the history of the Israelites and is characterized by a set of specific instructions given to them to ensure their protection. It is written, "For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the two doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you." The instructions given to the Hebrews were precise and carried deep meaning. Each household was to take a lamb without defect, slaughter it at twilight, and apply its blood to the sides and top of the doorframe of their homes. This act of obedience was a test of faith and commitment to God's command. The blood symbolized several critical aspects. It was a mark of protection, a testament of faith, and a reminder of the covenant between God and His people. The lamb itself prefigures the sacrificial system that would later be established and points forward to the concept of atonement. The ritual of spreading the blood on the doorposts was not only an act of obedience, but also a public declaration of trust in God's promises. It illustrated the idea that salvation comes through faith and obedience to God's word. The visitation of the destroyer also serves as a foreshadowing of future redemptive events in biblical theology, highlighting themes of judgment and mercy. The blood that protected the Israelites is seen as a precursor to later theological developments about redemption and sacrifice. In conclusion, the first Passover is a cornerstone event that emphasizes obedience, faith, and the power of divine protection. The instructions given to the Hebrews and the symbolic use of the blood on the doorframe highlight key theological themes that resonate throughout the biblical narrative. The story stands as a testament to God's deliverance and the enduring importance of faith and obedience in the relationship between God and His people. In Hebrews 11-28, through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. Many Bible translations refer to a figure known as the destroyer, particularly in the context of the Passover story. This entity is often associated with the 10th plague of Egypt, where the firstborn sons of the Egyptians were killed. 1. King James Version, KJV. This translation refers to the figure as the destroyer. The emphasis is on the destructive role of the entity during the event. 2. New International Version, NIV. The NIV also uses the destroyer. It highlights the protective measure taken by Moses through the sprinkling of blood to prevent this entity from harming the Israelites. 3. English Standard Version, ESV. Similar to the KJV and NIV, the ESV uses the term, the destroyer, focusing on the agent of divine judgment that was not allowed to harm those under God's protection. 4. New Revised Standard Version, NRSV. The term the destroyer is also used here, maintaining the portrayal of this figure as an agent carrying out a divine decree. The role of this entity across these translations is primarily as an instrument of divine judgment. Its task was to execute the 10th plague, but the Israelites were spared through their faith and obedience, marked by the Passover lamb's blood on their doorposts. The significance of this reference within the New Testament can be seen in how it foreshadows the sacrificial role of Jesus Christ. Just as the blood of the lamb protected the Israelites from destruction, the blood of Christ is seen as offering protection and salvation from spiritual death for believers. This connection underscores the theme of faith and redemption that is central to Christian theology. When considering other contexts, the entity's role as the destroyer is crucial in understanding the nature of divine judgment and mercy. It serves as a reminder of God's power and the importance of faith in securing divine protection. The narrative also acts as a parallel to Christ's sacrifice, emphasizing themes of deliverance and salvation that are pivotal in the New Testament. Passover, or Pesach, is one of the most significant festivals in the Jewish calendar, deeply rooted in both the biblical narrative and Jewish tradition. It commemorates the pivotal event in the Exodus story when the Hebrew firstborn were spared, leading to the liberation of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. This narrative is not only central to Jewish history, but also carries profound religious and cultural meaning. The biblical account, the marking of the doorposts, is a powerful symbol of obedience to God's command and signifies the protective nature of divine intervention. The blood on the doorposts distinguished the Israelites from the Egyptians, representing faith and commitment to God's directives. The sparing of the Hebrew firstborn set the stage for the subsequent liberation from Egyptian bondage. This event marks a fundamental moment in Jewish identity, symbolizing the transition from slavery to freedom, and it underscores themes of redemption and divine deliverance. The miraculous nature of the escape, highlighted by the parting of the Red Sea, reinforces the notion of God's active involvement in the history of the Jewish people. In Jewish tradition, Passover is observed through a series of rituals and customs that serve to remember and relive this foundational story. The festival is celebrated for 7 or 8 days, beginning with a ceremonial meal called the Seder. The Seder is rich in symbolism, with each element of the meal representing different aspects of the Exodus story. Matzah, or unleavened bread, is eaten to recall the haste with which the Israelites left Egypt, while bitter herbs serve as a reminder of the bitterness of slavery. The recounting of the Haggadah, a text that outlines the story of the Exodus, is central to the Seder, ensuring that each generation passes down the lessons and experiences of their ancestors. The impact of Passover extends beyond religious observance. It has deeply influenced Jewish culture and identity. It serves as a reminder of the importance of freedom, faith, and community, values that continue to resonate with Jewish people around the world. The themes of liberation and redemption have also inspired countless artistic and literary works, reinforcing Passover's enduring significance in the broader Jewish consciousness. In conclusion, Passover is a cornerstone of Jewish tradition, commemorating the divine deliverance of the Israelites from Egyptian oppression. The event of the Hebrew firstborn being spared and the subsequent journey to freedom are key moments in the biblical narrative that continue to shape Jewish religious practice and cultural identity. The symbolism of the blood on the doorposts as a mark of obedience and protection remains a poignant reminder of the power of faith and the importance of remembering and honoring one's heritage. In examining the original Hebrew text concerning the figure referred to as the destroyer or spoiler in the narrative of the plagues of Egypt, we are prompted to consider whether this term implies direct action by the Lord or if it indicates the dispatch of an angel. In Exodus 12:23, the Hebrew word translated as destroyer is meribihah, makriv, which literally means one who destroys or ravager. Context: this word appears in the context of the Passover instructions, where God is described as passing over the houses marked with lamb blood, effectively destroying the Egyptian firstborn who are not protected by the blood. Interpretation: while the translation destroying angel is often used, it's important to understand that the Hebrew word itself doesn't explicitly refer to an angel, but rather to the destructive power of God. The word in question has been interpreted in various ways, which has led to different theological implications. On one hand, some interpretations suggest that the Lord himself carried out these actions, emphasizing his sovereignty and direct involvement in the events of the Exodus. On the other hand, there are interpretations that lean towards the idea that the Lord sent an angel or a group of angels to execute these tasks. To support the idea of multiple angels being involved, all the passages we mentioned in this video are often cited. These passages describe a more structured and multifaceted approach to the God's execution of the plagues. The implications of these interpretations are significant for understanding the nature of divine intervention in the narrative. If the Lord acted directly, it underscores his immediate presence and control. Conversely, the involvement of angels as intermediaries might reflect a different aspect of divine operation, highlighting the use of celestial beings to accomplish his purposes. Ultimately, our understanding of the theological narrative and the depiction of divine action in the Bible story, whether viewed as direct or mediated, these interpretations offer insight into the relationship between the divine and human realms as portrayed in these ancient texts. In 2 Samuel 24:15-17:15, so the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed, and there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord repented him of the evil, and said to the angel that destroyed the people, "It is enough, stay now thine hand." And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing place of Araunah the Jebusite. And David spake unto the Lord when he saw the angel that smote the people, and said, Lo, I have sinned, and I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, I pray thee, be against me, and against my father's house. Swing a severe judgment is brought upon Israel due to King David's decision to conduct a census. As a result of this act, God sends a destructive angel to punish the nation. A deadly plague sweeps across the land, leading to the loss of 70,000 lives from Dan to Beersheba. However, as the angel prepares to strike Jerusalem, God instructs it to cease its actions at the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. In response to this calamity, David acknowledges his sin before God, admitting his mistake and taking responsibility for the consequences of his actions. In 2 Kings 19:32-35, 32, therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shield, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it, for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake. And it came to pass that night, that the angel of the Lord went out, and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. We encounter a striking moment of divine intervention when the angel of the Lord plays a crucial role in the downfall of the Assyrian army. During King Hezekiah's reign, Jerusalem faced a dire threat from the Assyrians, led by King Sennacherib. The Assyrian forces were powerful and had already conquered many cities, making the situation appear hopeless for the people of Jerusalem. However, the biblical narrative takes a significant turn when the angel of the Lord intervenes. In a single night, the angel strikes down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, leading to the retreat of the remaining forces and the preservation of Jerusalem. This dramatic event underscores the might and sovereignty of God, demonstrating that divine power can overturn seemingly impossible situations. The significance of this event within the biblical context lies in its reinforcement of faith in God's protection and deliverance. For the Israelites, it serves as a testament to God's commitment to his people and his ability to rescue them against overwhelming odds. The passage also highlights the theme of divine justice, as the Assyrian army's aggression is met with a decisive and supernatural response. Moreover, this story exemplifies the concept of God as a defender of the faithful, encouraging believers to trust in divine intervention during times of crisis. It illustrates the idea that human power and military might are ultimately subject to God's will, offering a powerful message about the limits of human authority and the boundless nature of divine influence within the biblical tradition. In 2 Samuel 24, the angel of the Lord plays a significant role as a divine messenger, showcasing themes of justice and protection. This narrative, where the angel intervenes following King David's census of Israel, offers profound insights into the nature of divine involvement in human affairs. The account begins with David's decision to count the people, an act viewed as displeasing to God. Consequently, God allows David to choose a punishment, and he opts for a plague. As the plague unfolds, the angel of the Lord is sent to execute judgment, which results in the loss of many lives. This presence of the angel underscores the immediacy of divine retribution, while also highlighting divine mercy, as God ultimately halts the destruction. The angel of the Lord is often interpreted as a theophany, a manifestation of God himself. Some theologians and scholars propose that this figure may represent a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ. This interpretation is supported by the angel's authoritative actions and the fact that the angel often speaks as God rather than for God, which suggests an identity closely aligned with the divine. The authority and power of the angel in this narrative are unmistakable. The angel carries out God's command without question and possesses the ability to cease the plague at God's behest, illustrating a direct line of communication and power. This authority not only underscores the angel's divine nature, but also portrays the seriousness with which God approaches justice. The event is steeped in the themes of divine justice and protection. The initial act of judgment serves as a reminder of God's righteousness, and the eventual cessation of the plague demonstrates his mercy. This duality reflects the complex nature of divine justice. While God holds his people accountable, he also provides a way to avert complete destruction, thus preserving a future for them. These events illustrate God's direct intervention in human history. The angel's role is a clear testament to God's active presence in guiding and correcting his people. Through this narrative, readers gain insight into the dynamic relationship between divine justice and mercy, showcasing a God who is deeply involved in the world. Scholars like Walter Brueggemann have commented on the theological richness of such texts, noting that they reveal the multifaceted character of God. The angel's actions, while demonstrating judgment, also open the door to a restored relationship between God and his people, signifying hope and future reconciliation. In summary, the angel of the Lord in 2 Samuel 24 serves as a pivotal figure that embodies divine authority and mercy. Whether interpreted as a theophany or as a direct messenger of God, the angel's role in this story reflects key aspects of divine justice and intervention, offering timeless insights into the nature of God's interaction with humanity. In the Bible, angels frequently serve as messengers and agents of God's will, including roles in judgment and acts of destruction. These celestial beings often carry out divine commands with great authority, as demonstrated in several key biblical accounts. One prominent example is the judgment of King Herod, as described in Acts 12:23. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not God the glory, and he was eaten of worms, and gave up the ghost. Here, an angel of the Lord strikes Herod down because he did not give glory to God. This act highlights the angel's role as an enforcer of divine justice, executing punishment on those who defy God's authority. Although the text does not label this angel specifically as an angel of destruction or death, the angel's actions clearly align with such a function in a broader sense. Another instance is found in Numbers 22, 31-33. 31. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. 33. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee, and saved her alive. Kirphon, the place where an angel with a sword warns Balaam. This angel appears with a drawn sword, ready to strike, which acts as a clear signal of impending judgment. Balaam's encounter serves as a warning and a testament to the angel's authority to execute God's judgment, emphasizing that the presence of the sword is a powerful symbol of potential destruction if God's commands are ignored. Jesus also mentions angels in the context of end times judgment in Matthew 13, 49-50. 49. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just. 50. And shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. He describes how angels will separate the wicked from the righteous, casting the wicked into a fiery furnace. This passage underscores the role of angels as executors of divine judgment at the culmination of time, where they are tasked with delivering final justice. Although the term angel of destruction is not used, the function aligns with the concept of angels being instruments of God's punitive measures. While these angels are not explicitly labeled as the angel of destruction or the angel of death, their actions embody such roles in carrying out God's judgments. This broader interpretation suggests that any angel tasked with executing divine justice could be seen as fulfilling the role of an angel of destruction. In addition to these passages, other interpretations within the biblical text also discuss the dual role of angels as protectors and executors of divine will. These accounts contribute to the understanding of angels as powerful agents who maintain the balance of divine justice, ensuring that God's will is upheld across time-space,